Hey. Time for an out-of-this-world story from rSpace. Some people act like a husband's only purpose is to be a human pleasure machine, endlessly on call, perfectly stocked, and always meeting expectations that no one could realistically hit. At the moment you fall short, run out of energy, or can't live up to their impossible demands, suddenly it's your fault, and they start shopping for a replacement. Today on rSpace, the pleasure department is closed indefinitely. Management's gone rogue. My wife said that cheating on me was doing me a favor. I got her fired to show her not to cross me. I, 33 male, and Lucia, 29 female, have been married for 4 years. Growing up, I never thought that I wanted to get married. When I met Lucia, I loved her enough to be able to compromise on that, so I did. I got married, and for the most part, I never regretted that decision. It seemed good. She's ruined everything, though. I wish humans weren't the way they were. Everyone acts like it is great for us to be higher animals, but sometimes I wish we were more basic, because it would mean that people didn't do things for such selfish reasons and try to justify their actions with the stupidest excuses. Some necessary background. Lucia has always been a very sexual person during the course of our relationship. If we could make love every single day, she'd want that. I like intimacy just as much as the next person. But as the man in the equation, sometimes I genuinely don't have the energy to exert myself. However, I still make sure to put in the work at least 3 times a week. Most times, it is more like 5 times a week. She knows that I know that she'd want it more if I could deliver. But she has always acted like we reached a good compromise in terms of the frequency, so I never felt too pressured to push myself to failure. I work a full-time job, and a lot of the time, I get back from work exhausted. I'm the one making the money. I still manage to put her at first in most ways because I see that as my duty as a husband. I had to learn in the worst possible way that you can do it all and still get stabbed in the back. I genuinely don't think that there's anything else I could have done to avoid this outcome. I was already doing more than enough as a husband. Lucia has been cheating on me, and the very worst part of it all is that she thinks that she's in the right. I don't know if she genuinely believes that or if it is just her unique way of dodging accountability. But she told me that she was doing me a favor. I found out that she was cheating because she did a horrible job of hiding it. I noticed that she was acting different. She was acting distant around me, and I wasn't sure exactly why. I tried to get to the bottom of it, but in that annoying female way, she was denying that there was something wrong when there was something obviously wrong. I got tired of asking, and I stopped bothering. The thing is, I wasn't going to be a fool and let her keep telling me everything was fine. So when she was sleeping one night, I just grabbed her phone and decided to go through it in detail. There were some things that were just mildly concerning, but after almost an hour of going through her phone, I eventually found something definite, and it was her conversation with a guy on Twitter. They were talking in the DMs, and literally everything they were talking about was sexual. In fact, as I continued to go through it, it became very clear that they weren't just using each other as a virtual outlet. There was a lot that indicated that they had actually met up. It just took me checking the guy's profile and his pictures to figure out that he was in the same city as us. I had to read everything a second time to be entirely sure that I had reached the right conclusion that the two of them had an affair going on. It had been going on for at least a month by the looks of things. I didn't even waste any time. I woke her up right away. I know that there are better ways to handle those kinds of confrontations, but my head was too much of a mess for me to take things in any kind of controlled manner. I just wanted to understand what was going on and let out all my frustrations. She looked very surprised that I was waking her up, and it took her a while to calibrate and see that the phone I was holding up was hers, and that it was open to Twitter, and it took screenshots of everything. I'm not dumb enough to have not done that before the confrontation. She sat up suddenly and snatched her phone out of my hands when she realized. Her first move was to snap at me and ask me why I had been going through her phone. My first instinct was to slap her when she said that, but for obvious reasons, I held myself back. It is deeply irritating to have someone ask you that when they were clearly the one doing wrong. I told her she was stupid if that was the first question she had. I asked her to explain, and she just looked angry as if I had had no right to interrupt her beauty sleep. She acted like she wanted to go back to sleep, but I yanked the blanket off of her head and told her she was going to have to answer some questions. She sat up, visibly annoyed, and she asked me what I wanted to know, as if we were doing a Q&A. Even up to now, I still can't believe that's the approach she decided on, acting as if I was a nuisance for wanting to know why she was cheating on me. That was my question too. Why are you cheating on me? Her response was to ask me if it was cheating. She didn't even bother trying to explain that. I had to prompt her to say more, and she explained that it could hardly be considered cheating. She was just going out to get what I couldn't give her. I pointed out that we typically slept together anywhere between 3 and 5 times a week, so she could hardly say that I wasn't giving her what she needed. I was doing my part. She retorted and said that I wasn't. She pointed out that I knew she needed a lot more than what I was giving her. When she said that, my mouth actually dropped open. I was already shocked enough from the plain fact that she was cheating on me, but I expected the reason to be like every other cheater, that she was selfish and wanted more than she already should have been satisfied with. But for the reason to be that she was trying to top up her tank and that was simply it? Don't we all want things we can't get in relationships? A lot of guys want anal or threesomes and don't get that, but we make do knowing that we probably never will. But she couldn't do with not getting plowed into every waking hour of the day. It was such torture for her that she decided to cheat on me. I had to ask her to clarify if that was really the road she wanted to go down. Road? It's the truth. Why are you acting like I'm wrong to say that? I wanted to lose my head, genuinely. I told her that she was acting like a jerk. She just laughed and claimed that I didn't want to hear the truth. It's not that she was trying to lie to me, but it almost seemed like genuinely she believed what she was saying, like she hadn't been in the wrong. She further explained that she only chose to meet up with the guy when she knew that I wouldn't be able to give her what she wanted. Basically, the blame was on me, and she was a good person because she was saving me from overexertion. I remember just holding my head in my hands, with my hands covering my ears. She kept speaking, but I couldn't hear it, and I didn't want to. I genuinely felt like I was losing it. Eventually, I just stood up and left the room. I couldn't deal with it. When I returned almost 2 hours later, she was back to sleep. I don't know how else to explain how hopeless I felt. I wanted to show her how mad I was, especially with the nonchalance that she was displaying, but the only ways that I could think of would have had me thrown in jail. I remember strongly considering whether it was worth it or not, but ultimately, I decided to be the bigger person. I told her that she'd need to pack out of the house, but she laughed and said that there was no way that she was going to do that. I didn't expect her to agree to it. She was going to be difficult every step of the way. I also refused to move out, so we ended up turning into roommates. I contacted one of my friends. His wife was a family attorney, and I got her to take on the role of my divorce attorney. I had Lucia presented with the divorce papers, and she looked at them with contempt, as if I were somehow making a foolish decision. What's the craziest thing to me is that she was a fine wife before that. We didn't have issues. I still loved her as strongly as the first day that I said it to her. But I found out what she was doing behind the scenes, and basically out of nowhere, she turned into my enemy. She doesn't even seem like the woman who I was married to. I tried to talk to her, to at least see if I could bring out what I consider to be the real her. But she's been an a-hole ever since that night. It's been frightening to see how different she is. I've had her served with the divorce papers. She didn't even bring it up to me, as if it doesn't bother her. Again, I wish that humans weren't as selfish as they are, because all of this is happening because a woman wasn't getting as much sex as she wanted. Maybe a lot of you think it is the kind of problem you want to have, but I promise you that until you're there, you might not understand what it is like. Anyway, all I can do now is sit around and wait for the divorce to kick me or her out of this house. Once that whole deal is finalized, I know I'll be free from her and the headache that she's bringing my way. I'm a peace-loving guy. The last thing I wanted to go through was all of this drama that I'm sitting through at this point. Update. I'm back now with a major update to my entire divorce saga. A whole lot has happened, and it might be worth understanding what happened in the first place. Lucia and I eventually had to go through the actual divorce process, and neither of us were surprised to see that we couldn't reach an agreement on anything. I don't even think we were trying to settle things before court. It was too messy. But eventually, it was agreed upon that we were wasting our time, so we took things past the negotiation phase. Being in front of the judge was its own headache entirely, but I was glad because I knew that it meant that the end was relatively close. The judge listened to both of our agreements and assessed all the major things that we owned. I remember thinking about how horrible the divorce would have been if we had chosen to have kids a bit earlier. I'm glad that we never had gotten to that point. I wouldn't even have wanted to co-parent with her. That's how little I respect her now. Ultimately, the judge reached the judgment and he decided to award me the house, which was a big win for me. I could see how disappointed Lucia was not to get it. I would have been fine finding another place to rent, but most of my motivation for wanting it was so that she wouldn't have it. I turned into the average spiteful spouse during a divorce, but I think that I had the right to be that. I was the one who was wronged. I have to pay alimony, which I expected. She had a job, but she earned a lot less than me. She doesn't have a job anymore, and that's something that I'm still going to get into. Besides that, we split the rest of our stuff in a way that I'd considered to be fair. I don't think that fairness should have been the approach because the marriage fell apart because of her stupid decisions. She should have gotten nothing, but for some reason, we have no-fault divorces, one of the dumbest things about our country. While we were walking out of the courthouse, she told me that I was going to regret losing her one day. That was such a ridiculous thing to say because I was super happy that I wasn't going to have anything to do with her. The weird thing about dealing with heavy emotions is that sometimes they take a bit to hit. It was about a week after the divorce that I think the full extent of her betrayal hit me. It became so obvious how she had effed me over, and considering that she didn't deserve anything in the split, she got off way too nicely for my liking. I hated the idea that she was going to go off and live life like she hadn't done anything wrong to me. Her ex-partner was going to have no idea of what she had done to me. I hated that. I didn't want to go down the route of writing a long expose on her and posting it online because that's not the kind of dirty business that I want to draw myself into. So instead of that, I decided I was going to make her lose her job. I don't come from a rich family in my city, but I do have a relative who has done very well for himself. He knows a lot of people in the city, and I decided to call in a favor. Lucia wasn't some kind of vital employee where she worked, though she had been there for a bit. I told my uncle about what I had gone through, and he seemed as mad about it as anyone should have been. I was glad that he had my side. Essentially, everyone I had told had had the same reaction, which really did make me feel better, because there was a tiny part of my brain that was wondering whether I was really the person in the wrong. I blame how certain Lucia was in her bad decision. He asked me what I needed from him, and even though I didn't know the extent of what was practical for him to do on my behalf, I told him that I was going to be fine if she had some troubles at work, just something to give her a headache. About 2 weeks later, my uncle called me to tell me that she was going to be let go, and I almost couldn't believe my luck. Writing this, I sort of feel like a bad person, and I can get thinking that based on my revenge alone, but Lucia did a lot worse than I did, so I don't think anyone should be blaming me for choosing to get my revenge. You can choose your own actions, but you can't police people's reactions. The best part was that I knew she wasn't going to have any idea that I had anything to do with it, and I wasn't going to share that with her, because I didn't want to be affiliated. I found out she was let go by my uncle. Apparently, she had caused a big scene because it came so suddenly. I got to see the security footage of her crashing out, and I smiled so big, it pleased me. I think I felt an even stronger compulsion to let her know that I had been the reason for it, but I chose to be smart about it, and that meant not cluing her into the fact that I had something to do with it. Either she's incredibly smart, or she trusted her work ethic so much that she knew there was no way in the world that she would have been let go without a very solid reason. She's pretty good at her job, if I have to be honest, but I don't think she's the kind of good that you can't find anywhere else after a week of advertising the opening. She suspected I had something to do with it. She was smart enough not to come out to the house, so she came to me when I was leaving work. I tried to avoid her, but she physically stepped in front of my car and told me that I had to admit that I had something to do with it. My first question was how she imagined that I would have had something to do with it. She didn't have a good answer to that, but she said that she didn't trust me and she knew I would try and find some way to get back at her. I told her that I had moved on and whatever was happening to her was karma. I laughed after saying that, and I think that triggered her. She tried to swipe at my face in a slap or scratch or something, but I moved back fast enough. I just stood there in disbelief. I wanted to retaliate, but I chose the moral high ground. I told her to leave because the only other option was going to be me calling the police on her, and that was going to make things a lot worse than her just being unemployed. That was enough for her to leave. She's been crashing out on her Twitter account. There's a lot of subs that are meant for me, but that doesn't mean that much to me. In fact, there's something satisfying about seeing how much she's been hit by losing her job. I didn't want to do too much to get back at her, but I wanted to do something that was going to be strong and meaningful, and it looks like I chose the right thing. She has the alimony from my job to live on, so it's not like she's going to die. She'll be alive, just a little less comfortable than she's used to. I'm very tempted to tell her one day in the future that I was behind it all, but that might not be necessary. I'm trying to protect myself as much as possible, so I might just have to choose to forego that little piece of satisfaction. Is there a moral to the story? I don't think so. Maybe I should have stocked up on more energy drinks, so I'd always have been able to satisfy her every call for pleasure. Everything else I did as a husband didn't matter. There was one thing that she wanted, and that's what most cheaters are looking for at the end of the day. I just have to acknowledge that the choice was hers, and so she chose to cheat on me. I never made the wrong move. You were busting your butt, showing up, providing, keeping the house and the intimacy alive, and she decided that wasn't enough. Her solution? Cheat. And then act like you're the problem. The best part is that she's now facing consequences she doesn't understand. Job loss, public meltdowns, minor chaos in her carefully curated life. And she has zero idea you're behind it. She thought she was untouchable. She isn't. She's the walking embodiment of, I want it all and I want it now. And now she gets to figure out the hard way. Don't even think about looking back. She's not worth a second of your attention, and the only thing you need to focus on now is moving forward. Free, untangled, and way better off without her. Do you have a similar story? Share it with us in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time.